Have you ever cared about someone so much that their mood started affecting yours? They're happy, you feel good, they seem distant, and suddenly you're anxious. They take longer than usual to text back, and now you're thinking, did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? Did something change? And before you know it, you're replaying conversations, reading into small things, and trying to figure out what's going on. Then, little by little, you start adjusting yourself. You avoid saying certain things because you don't want to upset them. You start making decisions based on how they might react. Eventually, the relationship becomes the center of your emotional life. The Stoics would have seen a problem with that. Not because loving someone is wrong. The problem starts when loving someone turns into depending on them to feel secure, valuable, or complete. Because once your happiness depends on another person's approval, your emotions start rising and falling with their moods, opinions, and actions. So how do you love someone deeply without losing yourself in the process? That's what we're going to look at. Attachment versus love. What you control in a relationship, how to handle conflict, and finally, one of the hardest parts of any relationship, knowing when and how to let go. Attachment and love can feel almost identical. Both involve caring. Both involve closeness. Both involve wanting someone in your life. But there's a big difference. Love says, I want you in my life. Attachment says, I need you in my life so I can be okay. And when that need becomes too strong, fear usually comes with it. You become afraid of losing them, afraid of disappointing them, afraid they'll stop loving you. So you start changing yourself to keep the relationship safe. At first, the changes seem small. You keep an opinion to yourself because you don't want an argument. You stop doing something you enjoy because your partner doesn't like it. You put a goal on hold because pursuing it creates tension. And one decision like that doesn't seem like a big deal. But when those small compromises keep stacking up, something changes. You can reach a point where your whole life starts revolving around keeping another person comfortable. That's the line you have to pay attention to. Healthy compromise is normal in a relationship, but there's a difference between adapting and slowly erasing yourself. You should be able to love someone and still have your own values, your own goals, your own interests, your own voice, your own identity. A healthy relationship should make room for both people to show up as themselves. And when you understand that, you stop entering relationships hoping someone will complete you. You start entering them as a whole person, choosing to share your life with another whole person. That changes everything. Because now you're not clinging, you're choosing. And once you understand that, the next question becomes a lot easier. What are you actually responsible for inside the relationship? This is where the Stoic idea of control becomes incredibly useful. A relationship involves two people, and no matter how close you become, you still don't control the other person. You don't control what they think. You don't control how they feel. You don't control their reactions. You don't control whether they understand you. You don't control whether they change. And at the end of the day, you don't control whether they stay. You control your side, your honesty, your behavior, your effort, your boundaries, your response, your willingness to listen, and your decision about whether the relationship still belongs in your life. A lot of relationship anxiety comes from mixing those two categories together. Let's say your partner is upset. Your first thought might be, how do I make them stop being upset? But slow down for a second. You can listen. You can apologize if you did something wrong. You can explain yourself. You can try to repair the situation. Those are your actions. How they respond is still theirs. And that doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to control another person through endless explaining, people-pleasing, apologizing, or reassurance. This is also where boundaries matter. A boundary is not, "You're not allowed to do this." A boundary is, "If this happens, here's what I'm going to do." One tries to control another person. The other controls your own behavior. And that distinction becomes especially important when conflict starts. Every relationship is going to have disagreements. Two people can care deeply about each other and still see things differently. The real problem usually isn't the disagreement itself. It's what happens after the emotion kicks in. Someone says something that hurts you. You get angry, so you fire something back. Now they're angry, they respond, you respond. And 5 minutes later, you're arguing about something completely different from where the conversation started. The Stoic approach is to create a little space between what you feel and what you do. So when things start getting heated, pause. You don't have to answer immediately. You don't have to win every point. You don't have to defend yourself against every sentence. Ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? Do I want to solve the problem? Do I want to understand this person? Or do I just want to win? Those are very different goals. Sometimes you need 10 seconds before answering. Sometimes you need 10 minutes. And sometimes the best thing you can say is, "I'm too angry to have this conversation well right now. Give me some time, and we'll come back to it." That isn't weakness. You're refusing to let a temporary emotion make a permanent decision. You can be angry and still speak respectfully. You can feel hurt and still listen. You can disagree and still tell the truth. You can love someone without giving up your boundaries. But sometimes, even after you've listened, communicated, tried to repair things, and held those boundaries, you're left with a reality you didn't want. The relationship needs to end. This might be one of the hardest Stoic lessons in relationships. You don't own another person. Loving someone doesn't guarantee they'll stay. Being good to someone doesn't guarantee they'll treat you well. And doing everything you know how to do doesn't guarantee the relationship will work. When something ends, pain is normal. Stoicism doesn't mean pretending you don't care. You might miss them. You might feel disappointed. You might grieve the future you thought you were going to have together. All of that is human. The important question is this: does losing the relationship also mean losing yourself? That's where emotional independence matters. You can feel pain without letting it destroy your foundation. You can miss someone without believing you can't live without them. You can love someone and still accept that the relationship is over, and you don't have to hate them to let them go. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to regret losing you. You don't need to win the argument. You don't even need them to understand your side. Sometimes the healthiest decision is simply, this relationship has reached its end. And then you move forward. You take the lessons. You look honestly at your own mistakes. You keep what helped you grow. And you stop carrying the other person as the source of your identity. So what does Stoic love actually look like? You care deeply. You show up. You communicate. You listen. You compromise where compromise makes sense. But you don't abandon yourself to keep someone else. You focus on your side of the relationship instead of trying to control theirs. When conflict happens, you give yourself enough space to respond based on your values, instead of reacting out of anger. And if the relationship ends, you allow yourself to hurt without convincing yourself that you're incomplete. That's the difference. When you approach relationships from a place of wholeness, you stop clinging and start choosing. The relationship becomes something you share from strength instead of something you need to fill a wound. Love deeply, care honestly, stay open, but keep your footing. Because a healthy relationship should never require you to disappear inside it. If you want more practical Stoic philosophy for relationships, discipline, emotional control, and everyday life, subscribe to the Sovereign Mindset Code. And don't forget to hit the like button.